A minor incident in Morocco has worldwide consequences in Babel. And a deranged veteran of the Gulf War hooks up with an old buddy to commit mayhem in L.A. in harsh times.
The Queen stars Elizabeth II lookalike Helen Mirren in the role she was born to play. And Borat is the story of a king in his world, a Kazakhstani TV host baffled by the USA.
All this plus a discussion of the films of Alejandro González Iñárritu on Cinema Scene. Hello, I'm Mort Marcus, film critic and former film instructor at Cabrillo College.
And I'm Richard von Busak, film critic for Metro Newspapers.
Well, the good films keep coming, and we got two of them this week.
Yeah, we do.
We also have some sad news.
Yeah, Jack Palance death. I was really kind of startled because the actor Jack Palance seemed like a figure that would just keep going on. Nobody will forget how he stole the Academy Awards by proving that he still knew how to do one-handed push-ups. Palance, unfortunately, is most famous for this sort of parody role of the black hat parts that he used to play in westerns from the movie City Slickers, which I think is kind of a dreadful film, really.
But, he really made it. His first films, he was in Panic in the Streets as one of the carriers of the bubonic plague in New Orleans.
Yeah, an early Elia Kazan film. I just saw that.
And Kazan was the person who was responsible for getting him into that film.
Kazan had a good eye because Palance there is he's just inhumanly frightening tall building. And it's not just the fact of his face, which he
was born. He's either Russian or Polish. In the East Pennsylvania coal mine area.
Yeah.
He educated himself. He was a painter. He had many exhibits.
He went to Stanford, too.
And he went to Stanford, finally. He was a journalist. And he was a pilot in World War II. His bomber crashed, and he had tremendous facial burns, which had to go through a lot of restoration. And that is the reason that his face looks that way, and typecast him as the villain from then on. After doing a lot of time with this, but he deserves it. He's an icon. After he did Panic in the Streets, he did Sudden Fear, in which he was trying to kill his elder wife, Joan Crawford. Terrified everyone, I remember as a kid. And then, of course, did Shane as the great black-headed gunslinger, and a part that will never be forgotten.
Yeah, he's also got a little incident in Batman, too, in the Tim Burton version. Always worth seeing.
Right.
Borat, Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan, is Sacha Baron Cohen's prankish crypto documentary comedy. It follows the adventures of a bigoted and staggeringly sexist trans-Urals telejournalist taking the grand tour of the USA. It's probably a mark of how low the West is feeling that we're back to beating up on the Slobodias of the globe. One's side may ache and one's conscience may throb a bit little watching Baron Cohen, who's a brilliant dialect and physical comedian, bringing chaos to the most comfortable Americans. That's comedy for you. The polite people always get it the worst. Baron Cohen's finest hour to date is his appearance at a rodeo, where he states his approval of your president's war of terror on Iraq, in terms Genghis Khan would consider a little extreme.
Yakshimash, my name is Borat. This is my country of Kazakhstan. It's nice. My hobbies, ping pong, disco dance, and sunbathe. This is my house. Entry, please. This is where I live. My bed. This is a VCR recorded. And this play cassettes. Now I show you outside from my houses. This is Natalia. She is my sister. She is number 4 prostitute in all of Kazakhstan. Nice. Although Kazakhstan a glorious country, it have a problem too. This why Ministry of Information have decided to send me to USA to learn lessons for Kazakhstan. I go to America!
Expanding a character that Baron Cohen developed on his the Ali G show in England. He tours America and finds just a whole an enormous pigeon coop of suckers. They're I mean, it's a uproarious film. What did you think?
Well, you know, I talk about rude comedy and how I just really dislike it because it's silly, it's stupid, it's overly done. This is as raw and crude as you're going to get. I got to warn people out there.
Yeah, true.
It's much more than an R film, but it is funny. Why? Because it has got original humor that surprises you, right? And 2, it is a satire because this guy is not only a satire on himself, but as this really horrible character who's not horrible because he's so innocent.
Right.
Descends on the United States. What he reveals as a touchstone is America's sham and prejudices, not Kazakhstan's. And I think the Kazakhstan government has got this a little wrong. It's America that comes up with egg all over its face.
Yeah, I know. It's a little raw for poor Kazakhstan. I mean, I guess this is why people have gone to the old thing of inventing a foreign country.
Right. I was thinking about the duck soup.
But I guess, I was
thinking about duck soup.
Yeah, Fredonia. You think about the place in $1 Million Legs, that W.C. Fields film. But he's really a classic comedian. The guy's moves are terrific. Yeah. His ability to do this artificial babble of language, which is like part Yiddish and part Polish.
What he's done is he's created an original character and an original culture. It's not Kazakhstan. It's an original culture. He comes out of this background, which he introduces you to, as we've seen in the clip.
Yeah, which is filmed in Romania.
And filmed in Romania, yes. And goes from there, and you just totally buy it. And then he brings these prejudices, to America and just puts them at the feet of people who just bite left and right because, as you said, most of these people are not in on the joke who he is interviewing, including 2 politicians who people out there may well know. Yeah. It's really a marvelous film. And people are reacting to it all over the United States with glee, both young and old. And I think it has something to do with the last election where people are finally just laughing from their guts.
It's from the relief of the worst of it being over,
Alejandro González Iñárritu's stark drama Babel has the world as its stage. The film is composed of 3 stories in 4 different languages, hence the title Babel. And all the stories are somehow connected. In Morocco, 2 Arab shepherd boys play with their father's new rifle with tragic consequences when they actually shoot an American tourist. In San Diego, the loving longtime maid who takes care of the children of the tourist couple brings the children to her son's wedding across the border in Mexico when she can find no babysitters. And in Japan, the deaf and dumb teenage daughter of the man who originally owned the rifle that shot the tourist goes through emotional seesaws dealing with her disability, her awakening sexuality, and her mother's suicide.
صرتوا تجيبوا اليوم؟
جينا اليوم ولكن ما قصنا حتى واحد.
شلون تقتلوهم؟ ولا غياكلوا لنا المعز كامل؟
ما اتصلت للدار معكم.
قطعوا الطريق، كان علينا نضربوا الدورة كاملة. وقيل الإرهابيين قتلوا شي توريست أمريكانية.
أمريكانية؟
الإرهابيين هجموا على شي شرطية توريست في الطريق.
لا احنا إرهابيين ما عندنا في البلاد.
ما نعرف.
هيك عرفتي بلي الميريكانية راهم.
هادشي اللي كيقولوا الجدارمية كيقلبوا على موالين هاد الفعلة.
Rich, this was a big film, and everyone has been expecting big things about it. It really has got a global vision. It really attacks things today.
It's just very ambitious, yes.
How it is ambitious.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think it makes it.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear you say that because of the kind of press it's been getting. I don't think it all gels. I think this is the best of the Inarritu's Rube Goldberg style films of like connecting one incident in one country with an incident in another, or in the way that he did like an incident in one state. Well, we'll discuss them in a minute. I know, but no, it just doesn't all add up to me.
Well, it doesn't add up. There are two reasons. First of all, it's again too long.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Queen in a second.
Yeah.
And how, you don't only have to go 90 minutes.
Right, exactly.
But this is 2 hours and 30 minutes. Cut 30 minutes off this.
It sprawls.
It's told in parallel structure. That is, you interrupt all of the 3 stories going on.
Right.
The problem is, and it was an interesting experiment, the times are askew. They're flash forwards and flash backwards.
Yeah, he's been doing this for a while, yeah.
So instead of just picking up the story somewhere else, you pick it up previous to what's happened before or far in advance of what's happened before. So you're working out this puzzle in your mind, and a film that should hit you in the gut instead hits you in the head,
This is very
and it just destroys the emotionals.
No, I'll go with you there. I was not really impressed with Brad Pitt and Kate Blanchett. I know that it was just like, it seemed like drop in the Americans to sew it all together. While Pitt has got some extra gravitas with the gray hairs and reminded me a bit of Clark Gable, I think, more than he ever has. That whole incident was for me like less suspenseful than the rest that's going on. And
well, what I've got to say about that, I thought they were great. I thought both of them were really good, and I got caught up with them and felt like, oh man, this is the way. Fairly nice people who were
who like kind of run up smack up against the third world like that. Yeah.
And I thought those scenes were wonderful. I thought each one of the stories, though, could have had stuff taken off it, and that the Japanese thing really didn't fit in.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It was a great acting job that was done.
By the young daughter.
By the young daughter. Anyway, we're going to discuss Inarritu in a few moments, so we'll get back to more of this.
Okay. Now, when Princess Diana had her traffic accident in Paris, most people considered it a tragedy. But there was one very rich and powerful woman who considered it a familial embarrassment as well. In The Queen, Helen Mirren plays the current English sovereign, a private woman who's being pressured into a display of public grief. As always, her husband, Prince Philip, James Cromwell, is by her side, advising and warning. Stephen Frear's drama examines the hubbub with tact and humor. For the Americans, this film may demonstrate the blessing of being citizens, not subjects.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm sorry to disturb, but it's the Princess of Wales.
Why? What's she done now?
Have some very sad news to bring you.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has died after a car crash in Paris.
The Prime Minister, Tony Blair,
Is about to make a statement.
Princess Diana touched the lives of so many others. She was the people's princess.
No member of the royal family will speak publicly about this.
Diana's no longer a member of the royal family.
What are you talking about?
Charles, this is a private matter.
We do things in this country quietly, with dignity.
Will someone please save these people from themselves?
Questions are being asked about why the Queen hasn't addressed her subjects at this time of national grief.
The Prime Minister for you, ma'am.
You've seen today's papers. 70% of people believe that your actions have damaged the monarchy.
Who does he think he's talking to?
You imagine I'm going to drop everything and come down to London before I attend to my grandchildren? Then you're mistaken.
Try and see it from
This is one of my films of the year, and it's a funny sort of thing because, well, not everybody can imagine what it'd be like to be the king or queen of England. Everybody knows what it's like to have great self-regard and at the same time these terrible doubts about one's own relevance, one's own in the scheme of things, And I thought Helen Mirren was marvelous in this. The previews don't really give you a sense so much of the dispassionateness and the irony of the script, in which the death of Diana becomes this kind of, a kerfluffle, as they say in England, in which for example, the Blair's statement that she was the people's princess is met with one person going, "Oh, that's over the top, isn't it?" Which is something I've been longing to hear ever since Diana wiped out. But what did you think?
Well, it's interesting to say it's one of your films of the year because
yes,
it's one of mine.
Oh, good. Okay, all right.
I mean, I did not look forward to going to see this film, except for Helen Mirren, who has to be nominated, if not win the Academy Award.
I thought it was going to be more like wringing hands over Diana's life, and as Julian Barnes, the novelist, said, this wasn't a life that was like a candle in the wind; it was more like a bloody great chandelier. Yeah. But they get into that.
They get into everything, and it is a brilliant piece of filmmaking.
Yeah, it is.
Any young filmmaker out there, this is what we're talking about when we say pacing, because that's what I didn't say about Inarritu's film. The pacing falls off in that film. But the pacing in this one, 90 minutes, every scene is crisp. You're totally absorbed in the character. You're absorbed in the unfolding story.
Interestingly, what it says about the British monarchy and also the British public, it doesn't take it observes the whole fiesta of grief from a skeptical point of view. It also doesn't pin it on the public. Right. Or even on the press.
All right.
It doesn't really go, which is good. I mean, it kind of spares the feelings and understands why people felt like this need to mourn.
Yeah. Oh, it was just wonderful.
And Mirren's great. James Cromwell really great as this brutish Prince Philip that whose only purpose in life is to go and decimate the stags of Scotland. Right. A very gilded sort of Prince Charles.
Well, I want to say one more thing. Yeah. It certainly shows you why Tony Blair had the reputation he had before he became friends with George Bush.
Hooked up his.
It's really a great piece of praise for him. And of course, the last lines of this film, which we won't say, are brutal in their in their insights onto the fickleness of the crowd.
It's a really shrewd, sharp piece of filmmaking.
Wonderful,
it's not
and wonderful
at all.
script.
Yeah.
We haven't said it's a wonderful, wonderful script. Yeah. Stephen Frears, My Laundrette.
Yeah, My Beautiful Laundrette. Yeah,
My Beautiful Laundrette, and a lot of other films. Great director. Just see his other films. This is how you do it. When we return, we will discuss the films of Mr. Inarritu.
Is anybody here?
Salutations, Wilbur.
I can't see you.
Up here in the corner.
Oh, spider!
Charlotte's Web.
Okay, Alejandro González Iñárritu, Mexican-born filmmaker, makes his big splash in America with Amores Perros, which we're going to have a little look at in a second. His aesthetic, and he's even claimed that the bigger critical esteem, Crash, was kind of stolen from his idea of having intersecting stories against the background of a city to unfold the chaotic, everybody touching something else milieu of modern world. Now, you match up this kind of Rube Goldbergian aesthetic of going, like machinery that just reaches around the block essentially to come back home.
Or around the world.
Around the world, exactly as it does in Babel.
In Amores Perros, it reaches around Mexico City.
Around Mexico City, right.
Okay? Yeah. And then he gets bigger and bigger as the films go on. This is the most ambitious one.
Yes, this is, and I think the best in a lot of ways.
So what we got is any action
has an equal and opposite reaction.
Which you cannot tell what it is.
Yeah.
And not only that, but also you never know how your life can change any moment through chance, and it will never be the same again.
Okay, the critique of this is we've known this ever since It's a Wonderful Life, and the other is that Iñárritu's sense of purple melodrama and violence taste for violence is very often dismaying. I found this the case in 21 Grams, his American film. While it had some wonderful cityscapes of the area around Memphis in the winter, one of the bleakest looking shot in American films I'd seen probably. It also goes around very coy and I would say even overly sentimental stories of Sean Penn.
Let me just say something here. It is the ending of this film is very interesting when you look at it.
Right.
Because the third world people get it in the neck, but the middle class people have happy endings.
True.
Okay,
true.
I'm talking about the last film that he's just done.
Yeah, I know, because I think
I also want to say something else.
Yeah.
There is an attitude in all these films that sex and violence in the young coming of age sexually, are what touch off these acts of violence that have these ripple effects. I think it's a very banal idea.
I'm with you there, and I'll say that I think Iñárritu's best film was his shortest, short film that he made for the 9/11 compilation. And it was basically just like an intersection of people falling off the Trade Center with blackouts. The brutality there was like very sharpened and focused, and I think made his aesthetic the most interesting of anything I've seen of his.
Right. Okay, Christian Bale, the star of the recent The Prestige, returns in a gritty contemporary urban drama aptly called Harsh Times. Written and directed by David Ayer, Harsh Times tells the story of Army veteran Jim Davis, Bale, who returns to L.A. after the Gulf War to become a policeman. But when he fails to be accepted by the LAPD, he cajoles his old buddy Mike Alonzo, Freddie Rodriguez, to join him in a petty crime spree around the city. Davis, a former Ranger, is clearly able to commit expertly executed acts of violence and is equally clearly deranged. The question is, how will he and Alonzo's increasingly wild exploits end?
What's up, dude? I applied to all the federal law enforcement agencies, ATF, Border Patrol, SC, Homeland Security, all. Homeland Security's interested in me. Want me to come in today and start testing.
Wow, that's great. How sure is this?
I got a urinalysis today. If I pass that, I'll be a special agent candidate.
Well, thanks for driving Mike around yesterday.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, bro. 3 callbacks.
Damn. Good. We dropped off enough resumes. Whew.
Got more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have to keep trying until something happens. Finding a job is a job, right?
Yeah.
Lunch money?
Thank you.
And good luck today.
Thank you. I love you too.
Good luck. And, Jim, good luck on your P-test. I hope you study.
I found this film has been like kicked around a little bit in the press, and I'd like to try to defend it as best I can, fast, that is. I think what we have here is a situation where we have a film noir that was like turned into an acting tour de force, and that's the reason for its unconscionable length, and it's it's like nest of endings at the end. Nevertheless, I think that there's a lot of fun in this film, a lot of dirty fun with Bale and Freddie Rodriguez, who you remember is like the most sympathetic character on the series 6 Feet Under. Here playing like his little sidekick that goes along with his increasingly with Jim Davis's increasingly drastic ideas of fun. What did you think?
Well, I thought, this was Training Day all over again. 2 buddies, 1 weak, 1 strong.
Yeah, and written by the same. It's directed by the guy that wrote Training Day.
And an acting tour de force, as it was for Denzel Washington, for Christian Bale, who just did not handle it as far as I was concerned. Well, I found the dialogue in this film so over the top. Hey, dog. Hey, buddy. Hey, homie.
Yeah.
It was just too much. And if you know how to write dialogue, it's different than talking in the street. Mm-hmm. You approximate, but you have things to do in dialogue that you've got to get over to an audience. So that didn't work. The story went nowhere. I just sat there and I said, "This is a real waste of time." So I think
a lot of people felt that way, but I was really into it for about halfway through, and then I could see that it was heading for a cul-de-sac fast. And I do think that Bale has to be defended, though, because, of course, he doesn't really sound like somebody from the neighborhood, and he doesn't really look like somebody from the neighborhood. Right. But he's his character is such a compartmentalizer, it may not make sense, the fact that that air of phoniness around him.
Well, that's the way it is.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm not going to recommend the film at all. I just thought it was a waste of time. When we return, we will go to Video Corner.
Yeah, we're going to do a Video Corner now. Alfonso Iñárritu. Alejandro Iñárritu, excuse me. We've got 3 of the films that are easily available, 3 of his films. His first one, Amores Perros. We'll have a look at that in just a second.
And in many ways, because it is tighter, it really does work the best. It also introduces us to Gail
Garcia Bernal,
Bernal, who is also in...
yes, and also in Babel,
Yeah, in Babel, and who was... really an actor who came to the fore with this part, and A2 También.
Yeah, well, that was later on with Alfonso Cuarón. Yeah. But what I do enjoy, 21 Grams has its moments all the way through with,
but it's overwrought. It's really over the top.
Well, let's have a look at Amores Perros for a second.
¡Ayúdame, carajo! ¡Ayúdame! ¡Está atorada la puerta! Tengo un machete ahí en esa carretilla en la esquina. Calma, chamaco. Espérate, chavo, espérate. Espérate. Calmado. ¡Quítense! Espérate. ¿Ya subo? No te muevas. ¿Qué pasó? Está atorado el pie. Sácalo. Con cuidado. Tranquilo, muchacho. Cuidado con la pierna. Tranquilo, muchacho. Cuidado con la pierna. No pasa nada. No te muevas, muchacho.
So look for Amoros Perros, which translates as Love's a Bitch, and this film, 21 Grams, at your local video stores. Rich, let us go into our recommendations for the film.
Let's do it. For Borat, I think we're both agreed.
Big yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's uproarious.
It's an uproarious film. Babel?
Babel, I don't think I can recommend.
You can't even recommend it. That's interesting.
I don't know. I don't think, why put people through it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I recommend it. I think it was an ambitious attempt, though it failed. It's not going to be one of my films of the year, but I certainly do recommend it. The Queen?
The Queen I'm definitely going to recommend, yeah.
It shines. It is absolutely regal, dare I say that.
Well, I guess I'll be saying that everywhere.
Everyone out there, I think everyone will love it. It's a wonderful kind of drama. And finally, Harsh Times.
Harsh Times, there's a lot of good in, but I think it's a wait till a video. It'll look all the better on television. It's in a lot of tight close-ups, a lot of two shots.
Right, and I'm going to say I definitely do not recommend.
Do not count this in any way. There are people that like Bad Lieutenant if they remember that Abel Ferrara film.
Yes, but that's a much superior film.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
I'm Mort Marcus.
Richard Von Busak here,
and this has been another Cinema Scene.